Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Buckeye Politics. This is me, your favorite Ohioan. So today we're going to be making a pretty interesting video on what if Donald Trump did 1% better in the 2020 election. So if you, like myself, have probably seen a lot of videos by other creators similar to me that made videos about, like, what if Trump did 5% better? What if Biden did 5% better? What if Hillary Clinton did 5% better? What if Ross Perot did 5% better? What if, basically, just, what if insert candidate here did 5% better? And, those videos are very interesting, and they're all good and dandy. But I thought, what if we make a more practical video? And that is, what if Trump did 1% better in 2020? Would Trump win the race? Would the race get any more closer? Or is this a waste of my time and no states would switch? We will see. So that we're going to start filling in the safe states for Donald Trump, and obviously these would not change, as a 1 point shift to the right would just make these states more Republican leaning. No shifts there. So Trump would still win all these states by a safe margin. Meanwhile, Biden would still win all the following states by a safe margin as well. Pretty much all the states you would expect, as well as New York, Maine's first district. Illinois, if you use 15-point margins with a 1 point shift to the right, would barely be likely. I mean, it would barely be safe, but it would still be safe. As well as, let me look at Colorado. Colorado went to Biden by 13 points, so if in a 1 point shift to the right, it would be 12.5. So Colorado would actually still be safe for Joe Biden. So these are safe Republican and safe Democratic states if in a 1 point shift to the right environment. Literally nothing changes. But as you go on, you'll see that there are some very interesting flips and some very interesting trends that really show how close the election was. So the reason a lot of the northeastern states, you may be saying, oh, maybe Rhode Island would flip, or maybe one of these states would flip, because I know if in 2016 you see these scenarios, a couple of these states become likely, but in 2020 Biden just improved on Hillary's margins so much in these states that a 1 point shift to the right really wouldn't do anything. So that's why these states are all still safe, even though in some predictions, some videos like these, you may see them as likely. So with that, we're going to start filling in the likely states for Joe Biden. That includes, let's see, looking at New Mexico. New Mexico would be likely for Biden, actually. Biden carried the state of New Mexico by 10.8 points, so 1 point shift to the right would make it 9.8, making New Mexico likely D. Similar story with Minnesota. Biden carried the state of Minnesota by 7.1 points, so 1 point shift to the right would make it D plus 6, which is interesting to know because I always think Minnesota, I think everyone acknowledges that it trended pretty much to the left quite a bit in 2020, but people don't really realize how big of a left trend it took. It was D plus 7. That's a huge shift to the left. And will it stay that way? Will it keep trending right again? Will it trend even further left due to growth in Minneapolis? That remains to be seen. But I just wanted to point out how far left Minnesota trended in just a short amount of time. Also, looking at Nebraska's 2nd District, Biden won there by 6.6 points. Kind of a fluke, in my opinion. A lot of it was just anti-Trump suburbanite, considering that Don Bacon won there by like 5 points in the same year. I think the Omaha suburbs are like the most anti-Trump, but still Republican suburbs in the country, other than maybe parts of Texas. But yeah, due to just it being a 1 point shift to the left and severe anti-Biden sentiment there, Biden would severe anti-Trump sentiment, excuse me, not severe anti-Biden sentiment, because these are like the Lincoln Project type, they're like Republicans, but not. So they would have voted. So Biden would still win here by 5.6%. We also have to look at the state of New Hampshire, which will go to Joe Biden in this scenario by about 6 points, I believe. Yeah, we'll go to Biden by 6.4 points. New Hampshire is similar to Minnesota. It's like a massive shift to the left, and people acknowledge it, but nobody really realizes how big of a shift to the left it was. Well, yes, New Hampshire's was mostly based on just trends, and a lot of people kind of expected that. I don't think a lot of people expected Minnesota's, but New Hampshire also took a huge shift to the left that we have to look at and at least acknowledge that. Looking at Maine's 2nd District, well, that would go to Trump. Excuse me, Maine at large. Maine at large went to Biden by 9.1 points. A 1 point shift to the right would make it Biden plus 8, so Biden would also win Maine at large. And another interesting state to look at, the state of Virginia. Virginia went to Biden by 10.1 points, so Virginia would also be likely in this scenario, which is pretty interesting to note, considering Youngkin's, right? We're considering Youngkin winning there recently, and people saying, oh, Virginia could be in play now. I don't personally believe any of that stuff. I don't think Virginia is going to be in play. But, it is interesting that just a single shift to the right makes Virginia likely instead of safe. It doesn't really do much. It still goes to Biden by 9 points. But I just think it's interesting, Those little changes in the map, just by the smallest change, can completely change how a map looks. I think that's very interesting. So with that, we're going to start filling the likely states for Donald Trump. They still include pretty much all the same states. Trump won Iowa by 8, he won Ohio by 8, and he won Texas by 5. So a 1 point shift to the right would make Iowa and Ohio R plus 9, while Texas R plus 6. So these 3 states would all be likely R. These are kind of like the big 3 likely Republican states, a decent amount of electoral votes, and they all vote within a few points of each other. We also have to look at Maine 2nd District, which went to Trump by 7.4 points, so a 1 point shift to the right would make it Trump plus 8. So, with that, we also have a likely Maine 2nd District. I believe in 2016, this district would have actually been safe for Trump if it took a 1 point shift to the right, which is interesting to note. And I believe that is it in terms of Trump's likely states. Yeah, those are all of Trump's likely states. And so with that, we have Joe Biden with 227 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 188. So with that, we're going to fill in the lean states for both candidates. Excuse me, not me to do that. The lean states for both candidates. We're going to go, let's go west to east. West to east sounds good to me. So we're going to start with the lean states. The state of Nevada went to Biden by 2.4 points, so a 1 point shift to the right would make it still go to Biden by 1.4 points. Which is interesting. It's a note. I think Nevada is very much an R-trending state, and this could seriously be the 2024 result. Although I personally think at this time Nevada is going to flip Republican in 2024, the way trends are going. But still, a 1 point shift to the right makes Nevada a D+1 state. Very interesting to note. People on the left saying Nevada is still into Biden by 2.4 points. It's solid. Trump does 1% better nationwide. Boom, it's Biden plus 1. State of Arizona, Biden won the state by 0.3%. So Trump plus 1 shift in the national environment makes Arizona go to Trump by about 0.7. Trump wins Arizona by a tilt margin. And just like that, we have our first flip, aka pickup, of Trump doing 1% better. Trump does 1% better in 2020, and he suddenly flips Arizona by 0.7. A solid margin, actually. I expected it to be less than that. So that we're going to go to the great state of Wisconsin, where we see Wisconsin only went to Biden by 0.63%. A 1 point shift to the right for Trump makes Trump win the state of Wisconsin by 0.4. We have another flip up. Trump narrowly wins Wisconsin in this scenario if he does 1% better. So with that, Trump has already flipped 2 states just by doing 1% better nationwide. State of Michigan went to Biden by 2.8 due to mostly high turnout in Detroit and some the Republican Party just getting absolutely shelled in places like Grand Rapids, which are more traditionally Republican voting areas. So because of that, Biden won the state by almost 3 points. So even in even in a 1 point shift to the right, it would still lean to Joe Biden, which makes Joe Biden looks like he's pretty much set up to win this race. But looking at the state of Pennsylvania, and especially after looking at Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania went to Biden by 1.2%. So in a 1 point shift to the right, Pennsylvania would be the closest state in this election cycle, going to Joe Biden by just 0.2%. A very competitive state, just a 1 point shift to the right. Pennsylvania goes from being decently solid Democrat state, not safe, but it's definitely more of a Democratic-leaning state, to a pure toss-up that would very, very, very narrowly go to Joe Biden. So with that, we have Joe Biden 269 electoral votes. Nice. But anyway, Pennsylvania tilts to Joe Biden, and very narrowly. It would be super, super close. State of North Carolina went to Donald Trump by 1.3%. So a 1 point shift to the right would make it 2.3%. But Trump wins in North Carolina. State of Georgia, Biden wins in Georgia by 0.23. Georgia, which was the closest state in 2020, suddenly becomes a tilt Republican state, which goes to Trump by about 0.8 points. The state of Florida obviously already went to Trump. Would it be likely, though? It would not. It would be 4.4. So in a simple 1 point shift to the right, Florida would nearly be likely Republican. It would still be lean, but it would be very close to being likely Republican. And you probably saw this kind of filling in just a couple seconds ago. But here we are, the 2020 election. If Donald Trump did just 1% better, we have a tie. We have a tie. We were 1% of the vote in every single state from having a tie in 2020. Could you imagine all the shit that would have gone down? We have the Capitol riot and BLM stuff in the summer on steroids. The Senate and House would have been split too. We would have had probably would have had like a Republican president and then a Democratic vice president or vice versa. It would have just been absolutely insane. We were a 1 point shift away from having this as as the result of the 2020 election. So I just think this is a very interesting scenario. You take a 1 point shift to the right, and Trump flips 3 states, and he is on the verge of staying president here, winning the election. People don't realize how close 2020 was. But Trump was in the worst possible scenario he could be in. He had a global pandemic. He had an entire media mob against him. He had cities burned down over the summer. He had suburbanites and independents take massive shifts to the left, and he was 1 percentage point away from winning the election, and a 1.2%. If Trump did 1.2% better, he would have flipped Pennsylvania and won. So with that, I don't even know what to say to that at this point. It's very interesting to look at how close 2020 really was. People say I mean, in terms of the electoral vote count, 2020 wasn't super competitive, but in terms of actual like raw percentages and vote totals and just how close over nationwide and with the national environment, 2020 was super close. So with that, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you guys are very thankful that 1% that either hope you guys are very thankful we didn't end up getting this shit show, or maybe you wish Trump did 1.2% better and narrowly flipped Pennsylvania. But with that, that's all I got today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.